recording, start streaming. If both of them work. It says I'm live and says my recording's working. So I guess I don't have to worry about it. Maybe. Let me turn up the audio so I don't. Well, if I hear myself, that's not a big deal, but like I want the audio to be working perfectly fine anyways. I'm not gonna mess with studio mode. I don't have the time or the energy to do that. Ugh, speaking of energy, something I don't have any of nowadays. Okay, so everything's set up, and I'm just gonna post this on the channel. Honestly, I don't make anything for the channel often, and I don't do that because I think the channel is more professional than me just rambling on and hanging out in my chat. I think that's more of a Twitch thing you would do, which is what I'm doing now. So I don't have to worry about that too much. See, like okay. It's in streaming mode right now. I'm just gonna I'm not gonna play the game for just a little bit, and the reason for that specifically is because I want to just sit around and get used to talking and hearing myself talk. And while I'm streaming, I'm just gonna do a small check over like all of the things that I could possibly be doing right now. Speaking of which, I wish there was an easy way to rewatch what I am doing. Like, oh, I guess the dashboard on Twitch would work perfectly fine in this situation. Um, I don't know if I can. Yeah, it does work like that. So that's fine. Um, I think I should just make sure I should turn off my. I'm gonna do a bunch of like small little testing stuff in the meantime. You can also hear about all how this works while this is kind of going on, so you can actually learn a little bit. But I wouldn't add that to the reason why you would watch this in the first place. Also, Twitch has a delay, which is going to be like a really big thing. So actually, you know what? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Hold on. So I'm deciding that I'm going to actually set it up so that I can hear myself, but I can't hear the Twitch stream. That way I can actually just kind of map my way through this the proper way. And like I want to have like a current, I can hear myself so I know what I'm saying perfectly on cue, not really hearing the extra of the Twitch. And that's fine. I need to make sure my speaking is clear, and that's one of the things I struggle with the most. So constantly hearing myself will make me better at that, at least. And I'm too tired to work too hard on all of this in the first place. So, oh no, it seems this is gonna be a problem. I'm gonna need to fix that. Ah, this sucks. I'm sorry. I have to restart the goddamn game. So if the stream like cut out for a couple seconds because of that, I'm really sorry. I can't really fix that exactly the way I would like to fix it. But hey, looks like we're up and running now. I don't want to take away from the game volume from you guys, so I'm gonna do a little more testing on that, see if I can actually keep that working. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wrong one. Wrong setup. I turned up the volume on that really loud. Okay. This should be like the acceptable level again, so you guys, I'm sorry about that. You guys got exploded for a second. So I'll turn the game volume a little bit lower just in case, because I don't know exactly what that seems like to you guys, but I don't want to actually be outshined by the game volume, even though the game volume is pretty cool. So I'll set that up, and then for me, I have to mute in my ears, not the setup's ears, my hearing on that, so I don't actually bother with all this shit. Oh god, I'm doing a bunch of like testing stuff right now, and that's kind of really bad. But this was supposed to just like start off with me talking and then just enjoying doing something for the channel. But I guess I can't just get everything right the way I wanted to, you know. C'est la vie, I guess. So, actually, that works. That fixes the problem. Okay. I'm probably not going to be able to hear myself that well either anymore, so don't worry about it. I'm not going to complain about it. Anyways, exhaustion. That's what we're talking about today. That's what we're talking about. The tired nature of a person that can happen just because you're just doing and you're working and your life is moving. Speaking of life moving, I am working on so much, and I'm not even working harder than anyone else in my general vicinity. Like, working is relative to me, at least, and the relative work I'm doing is a low ball compared to what a normal person would be dealing with. To explain what I mean is I'm working on a game. A game is a good way to put it. So, you know how D&D runs off of systems, and like that actually works its way through to make those things great and like turning them into full-blown artisans of games that like people go by and stuff like that. There are a bunch of systems that I started looking up on my own because of just the intrigue that these things cause. And these intrigues also make concepts and metas and things that grow to accumulate to be like some of the greatest things that I've ever actually seen. Like a simple D&D system can go miles in creativity to actually build something greater than its sum of its parts. One of those things that like I understand about that is I've played almost every single one of D&D systems in the recent, and not the recent years, but like in the last 10 years of my life. I've played through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all through, and I started on 5, did not enjoy it too much. I enjoyed it from a story perspective, but I did not enjoy it from a gameplay perspective. I enjoyed 3 the most from the gameplay perspective. 4 is a close second. Then I was like, I don't feel like I have enough freedom in this. Because whenever I look at a D&D book, I see all the stringent rules and how the systems work, but I feel like it was small. That was it. The only thing was, it's small. Whenever I imagine a game, I imagine you just overwhelming, likely being powerful, and 3.5 allowed me to be that overwhelmingly powerful. And I know that's a power trip. I know that's a power trip fantasy that like everyone has when they come across this types of stuff. One of those same types of feelings. Oh, sorry, that was my phone, by the way. I should really turn that down. Holy fuck, that's gonna be a problem. Alright, sorry about that. It's because I actually am streaming right now, so my phone's just giving me all the information on that. So, it didn't make me feel powerful, and that was something that I came to D&D for. I came for D&D as an escape into a fantasy world where you can be the person that you really want to be. And that sounds cliche, but that is exactly why most people play D&D, to be something that they're not. I know from experience that many of my friends who play certain aspect of characters that are derivative of what they want from themselves. Like, I know of one of my friends. He was a D&D buddy. He actually is a simple food tester. He actually tests food out on a normal basis to actually check for quality, I believe. I'm not exactly sure the exact extent of what he does with food, but he is a taste tester per se. So he goes off and eats food. He has a very mild-mannered life. He has a wife already, doesn't like kids, and he kind of lives his life. He's an interesting person if you get to talking to him, but like he has a very small part in like the world. But when he plays D&D, he plays D&D. He takes the aspect of being something you are not to a far and wide different level than I could ever imagine. One of those examples of a real role player, in my opinion. He is always the battle axe having stupid berserker in your party. The party member who performs the biggest amount of achievements, but also the same party member who gets you in the most trouble. He loves that character from the bottom of his heart, and that's how he plays him. Just swing it. Just swing it. Swing your hammer and then hope for the best. That is his character. That is his embodiment. It is so fun to play with him because he doesn't stray from his path, but he moves straight towards it like a bullet, a speeding arrow in that general light, and he always carries a heavy weapon. It is a magnificent watch to see this man become that character, and that is all he wants to do. But when you look at this guy, you would never imagine that this one person plays a big battle axe wielding, great sword having, drinking, partying berserker. But when you look at him on the surface, he's just an office worker. He's just a simple office worker, man. I'm just like that, but the character I play is a lot more derivative towards me as a person that I am now, and I don't stray too far from the course of myself. To explain what I mean by that, he plays a berserker, and that's what he wants from his life, from himself, from everything around him. He is that person. But because of that, you find me in a situation playing the same type of mild-mannered person that I am, like playing the type of person that I act like, completely and compulsory, because I'm not far off from where I want to be. I don't imagine myself as the strongest, the smartest, the biggest, the heaviest wielding motherfucker ever. I imagine myself as the tactician. I imagine myself as the person in the background and casting the spells that the party needs, you know? I've always imagined myself as that, and I haven't changed that theory. I have not changed that sight of that person from anyone else. And there are times where I go against the grain and play something else because sometimes I don't want to be myself, but most of the time I am me and I want to be nothing but me. A lot of time if I do play somebody that is not derivative of who I am, I end up playing a smart aleck, a quick-witted smart aleck at some point. Whether the smart aleck be more down to earth or not is basically the variance in all of this. The variant being the differences in those people. My smart aleck is always the same. He is a con artist, somebody who is quick on his feet to talk about words, but also strong enough to actually get away with it. So to explain, one of the most recent characters that I actually played that wasn't a campaign that I set up for myself or somebody who actually was playing a character that I created for them was a Dragon Age campaign with a friend of mine. My good friend Nick and I and a couple of people from our normal D&D, from the usual suspects of our normal D&D group, played a situation where there were two mages, a fencing swordsman, and we needed a tank. I didn't play a tank for a while. I hadn't played a tank in a long bit of time. I wanted to play a natural born tank, somebody who would definitely do what he did, but he was a creation-minded tank. A creation-minded tank meaning somebody who does a lot more crafting, and then tanking is his pastime. So to explain what I mean, he was the craftsman of the group. He did sharpening and blacksmithing for the pastime that I actually picked while doing the Dragon Age campaign. He was a Ferelden craftsman. So, to explain his usual, he was a woodworker rather than a blacksmith, even though I wanted to be a blacksmith. But Ferelden craftsman was closest to what I wanted as a character, so I left that to be the case. And then when I got an opportunity, I grabbed blacksmithship as quickly as I could as a passive. Like, I had woodworking and other nonsense beforehand, but then I needed blacksmithing as my main, because I was the blacksmith of the group, which was a little bit annoying that I didn't start with it, but it was like, it was either be a dwarf or be a Ferelden craftsman, and I wanted to be a craftsman, so. C'est la vie. What can you do, you know? Okay, I just realized that I need to absolutely leave the dungeon right now because I have something to accomplish outside the dungeon. I didn't realize this, but like, I want nothing more than to open my shop right now because I have quests that I need to complete over at the sales counter. Now, I could talk about the game, but I'm not going to. So, sorry. Sorry to anybody who was actually here for the game in specific, and I can't really tell you, oh, I'm going to do this game another time to explain it. No. This is just what I'm doing in my pastime while I'm talking to you guys, which is kind of suckish, and I'm sorry that takes away because I'm on Twitch, so unless you were here for me in the first place, there was no point in you guys being here for me just there's no point for any first time people to be here for me. Oh, also, if anybody has any questions about the game or wants to send a message in about the game, go right ahead. I'll have the time. Unless you're watching this in the future on YouTube, and in that case, you know you can't. You know what you're capable of. I'm not gonna question you about that. This isn't a quiz. You got this. I don't have to explain anything to you. Why do I keep talking, honestly? I keep going back to dumb things, and I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? But yeah, let me go back to what I was actually talking about. No, you're not gonna steal anything. Right. So I was talking about, the craftsman. So, I made him, as you would expect. He was a blacksmith out in the forest outside the city walls before I was set up on a quest. I am supposed to be the best blacksmith in the general vicinity is the better question. And I didn't play somebody like a noble paladin or anything like that. In fact, I played somebody who is quite rebellious in the normal world, in the universe that we played in. So, to explain how rebellious, I was talking about democracy in a town that had a king. Now, that should tell you a lot about the current nature of what I was doing, but I'm going to tell you right now, I did not make many friends. If anyone knows in Dragon Age what the Qun is, I got Qun lore as a passive skill for the reason to fuck with our actual just to bullshit our Qun, one of our Qun compatriots. It was a treat, in my opinion. I end up loving my character a lot more because of how quick-witted I was to talk, how tanky I was because I had heavy armor. So heavy, in fact, that whenever someone attacked me, I wouldn't take any damage. I would just tank and tank and tank. But the problem was I didn't have any damage. None whatsoever. I do have a hammer, a warhammer in fact, and then I had a shield, and I can dual wield my warhammer and add accuracy to make sure I can actually hit, but if I did that, I would end up getting hit and taking massive damage. I mean, not even massive damage. As I thought about it, my health was quite high. If I really wanted to take the opportunity to try to hit somebody with about a D12 worth of damage, then yeah, I could totally do that. But everyone else in my party was DPS. There was no point. So I just bolstered my defense 3 times every single time I sat in the middle of the enemies, taunted people if I had a chance, and then just rolled with it. I never did I once ever hit somebody on an often occasion. I had very horrible accuracy for my party, and it was the funniest thing. Everybody was talking mad shit about how, oh, look, our goddamn dwarf, our goddamn Ferelden can't even hit the broadside of the barn. And I'm just like, yeah, your Ferelden can't hit the broadside of the barn. Because if I'm not taking it on the face, then who is? I had this very, very mean way to talk to everyone. And then I would make jokes. And I mean the worst type of jokes. So, we had a mage who was the King's Guard, one of the King's Guards. So this mage is normal standard stuff for your King's Guardsmen who actually would go about and what's the word I'm looking for when I'm talking about a King's Guard? Passionately serving the king is what we're talking about here. And I'm not talking about the Abraham Lincoln passionately serving. I'm talking about the regular passionately serving about like being loyalty. I'm talking about loyalty here. Yeah, that's what it was. I'm talking about him being loyal to the king. And then I would call that person furiously gay. I would just vehemently and very consistently call him gay all the time without question or fail. Like, if I had to think of this person, I would think of him as a homosexual because of how he says, "I love the king with the bottom, or from the bottom of my heart." And I was like, "So, you're a fluffer then." He was quick-witted, he was well-spoken, and he was smart on the wit level. But he was never meant to actually be. He was always supposed to be disheartening towards my own teammates, and he was supposed to add a layer of funny to the mix that I would never enforce on anyone else. He was just hilarious, just to be hilarious, and I guess that's like a good way to express it in my opinion. But this person was the embodiment of my wit. I made this guy to be witty. I made this guy to be very funny. I made this guy to be enjoyable and to liven up the experience of the people around me. So I made him for that purpose in general. I never made him for anything like, I never made him to be something that I'm not. I made him to be to influence the experience, that we went through, and make our experience better, make our experience more than what it was before. You know, it's my favorite. It was one of my favorite ways to do what I was doing. You know, I enjoyed it. My party enjoyed the interesting interactions that would occur between me and the other party members. And this is something I know particularly for the sake of a party. Because when you're in the sake of a party, you can bump shoulders with the party members in a negative way, and it not cause the party to disband or cause the party to actually attack one another. Like, because there are times where somebody's playing somebody completely chaotic evil. And if you play someone completely chaotic evil, there are times where you're going to want to attack your other party members. Whether it be from attacking them through ways of attacking them through mind damage, or trying to convince them of your plights. Things like that. Like, you can attack people like that consistently and often when you're actually playing, a D&D campaign. And it would be still okay, you know? Like, you wouldn't actually cause a detriment to the party just by attacking somebody in the small ways that would be necessary in the world around you. So another explanation would be, there was another guy I played D&D groups. I was in a party with most of the time. He would be somebody who wasn't mentally stable all the time. Like, as many times as you can possibly imagine, he would definitely be the type of person who would try to corrupt you to an evil god of some sort. So, when this person would come along, he would try whatever he could to corrupt the people around him. And whenever that happened, it was always negative, but it was just an interesting character interaction in the world. You know? So, you can have moments like that in D&D where people technically would rub the wrong way, but using character interactions and how you can talk with one another, you would find it to be a more enjoyable experience to have these interesting character interactions between everybody. So, yeah, that's a good example of those are some good examples of ways like a character interaction can work. And I know that from experience that interesting character interactions make the game. When I say make the game, I mean it makes you want more D&D. It makes you want to play more D&D because you want to see your character, these people that you have created, go through experiences together out of just hearing or seeing or doing anything with another person, you know? So I wanted to see what would happen, how far I could go in the Dragon Age campaign with Kyun lore as one of the objects of one of those objects that I've grabbed, one of those skills that I've grabbed. I wanted to see how that would influence our daily routines, our normal lives, our necessities that go about while we were playing. I wanted to see more of that, but we didn't actually have the opportunity. Because like usual, most D&D games don't get finished in one day. Or most D&D games don't get finished at all if you actually play a good one. So, I am creating a system that started out for myself. It started out for me. I wanted the system for myself because it was more of what I wanted. To explain what I mean by more of what I wanted, the system was made to mirror a genre. The genre I'm mirroring was Isekai. Isekai is another world in Japanese. It is also... Damn, I made 10k today. Yeet. Speaking of which, I got all of these done, so I can just go in the dungeon without worry now. Yay. I'm gonna look forward to that. But Isekai is an anime genre where it's not an anime genre. It is a genre. It is just a genre. It is just a genre. The genre is to express you dying in the world that you are currently in, and then reviving to another world with different rules, different social standings, different mechanics, and a different life that awaits you. It is the embodiment of starting over. I might die in the next 10 minutes with a bullet to the back of my head from an assailant in my own house. And to know that I will live on to then become a hero in a story that I would never imagine. With gods and magic and swords around me to make the journey more of an enjoyable experience is a magically frightening and awesome idea. And the embodiment of that is Isekai. And that is the embodiment of an Isekai anime. This embodiment is what I want to portray to anyone involved in my campaigns with me. Now, portraying this is not difficult and is pretty easy to manage, which I can do. But I want this. Isekais are usually synonymous with video games sometimes, and that's kind of a par for the course when you get down to it. But I want these embodiments to be the embodiment of you playing an actual online video game, an MMO per se, and then you have that moment where you become stronger. If you know what that moment is, I can try to explain it. So let's give it a World of Warcraft. That moment where you start off as a fledgling that has like just a tiny little a bit of a social standing. A standing like how the Goblin race starts off in the World of Warcraft currently today. So you start off as a kind of nobleman, like one of the third prince of the Goblin Nation. And then the Goblin Nation goes into fucking decay because of all the crazy shit that's going on. And then as that occurs, you have to as that same Goblin Prince have to basically rebuild your race from scratch and then have to deal with all the other bullshit that's going on at the same time. It is freaky hard, freaky how you start off as someone already with enough standing in the world to actually talk to anyone and be recognized as somebody more, you know? And then later on, you figure out that you are more. You end up later on crushing fucking working with goddamn, crushing Illidan, and then like going ahead to do crazy shit like that, you know? Killing dragons and beating destroyers of worlds, wrecking gods. Like, You start off as somebody who's just decent in the world, and then you become a vying force in the world. You become a force of nature that is just ridiculous to deal with, and that is just beyond the capabilities of anyone can possibly imagine. I want that power. I want to feel the embodiment of being that powerful. You know? Like, you're not powerless in this world. You have the power to do and say whatever you want. You have the power to become more than the sum of your parts and the sum of the world itself. And then you have the power to be just ridiculous. Like, to break common sense of the world around you. To just with the energy and power alone that you start off with. That is what I want you to experience when you actually are playing this. That is what Isekai World is. Now, I was a mouthful I just went through just to explain a little bit about what I've been working on in my spare time, but it's something that I want more people to experience diminutively, and I've been making books, organizational patterns, powers, like workarounds. I've been doing a lot of interesting and integral work to just that goal, to make that a reality. And I have a few people who support me in this goal, like full-heartedly, and want me to do way more than what I can do alone. I feel like Toby Fox here, and then I'm like trying to create Undertale, and it's gonna take me 10 years, and I know that. So it's just kind of like, I know that feeling, and it's really overwhelming sometimes. How much work I'd have to do and put into for all this is overwhelming. But it's the pastime I wanted. It's the pastime that I've wanted. It's not impossible. It's just a great deal of work, and it's a great deal of fun. Like, working on the intricacies into my world is just distinctly fun. It's just fun. It's fun because I get to stretch this power of mine that I've known I had for a long time. The idea that I get to create a world is such a creative world just to have other people play around and bend and mold it to their own personalities and stuff is just fun. It's just really fun. Like, you guys basically get a look into my mind to see a whole different universe that no one has vision on except for me, and then to just go into that place and not wreak havoc particularly, but to enjoy it for what it is, like the world as it is. You just get to enjoy the world, you know? It likens back to how I feel about universes in general and how they're formed and structured. It's pretty interesting. I don't believe that anything that you come up with is unilaterally yours, you know? I feel like everything is just kind of circling and you just pick up on it, you know? It's really difficult to explain, but to give a good example would be this world that Isekai World is often, which I gave the name Orasheim because somebody asked me about what the name for the world would possibly be, and I just said Orasheim at random, right? I don't believe that I just came up with Orasheim. I came up with Orasheim. I don't believe that I came up with this. This place is too real to me to believe something so vain as I was the sole proprietor of this world coming into existence, you know? Like, the idea that this world just came into existence at random, and I was the one who, like, used all of the likelihood in my mind to actually come up with it, is just vain. It's vain of me to think of such a thing. To think that I am the sole creator of this massively scaling thing that didn't exist just a couple seconds ago. Like, the idea that I could create such a thing like that with my limited scope of my mind it might be a little what is it? It's not when you rag on yourself, but it's not. I might be thinking little of myself because to think that the idea that I created something that huge alone and just in my head I just think that's irrational. I think it's irrational to imagine that during the small amount of time that I existed in this world, I came up with something so explosively large, like a whole distinct world on my own, you know? I think that world just exists. That world exists on some plane that I have momentarily perceived. If that's anywhere near understandable for anybody. So, the idea, like, I can give a good example. Full Metal Alchemist has a world called has a world. That place is huge and and it expands over into that continent that we see, where Fuhrer King Bradley and everybody like is together. You know, Amestris is the name. Amestris. I believe Amestris exists in some plane that is easily perceived to everybody else somewhere. Like, that place exists on its own plane of existence in a parallel universe. But the reason we got to see that place was because somebody had such a clear view of it that he was able to describe it to another person. If you understand what I mean. So, because the creator of Full Metal Alchemist perceived that plane of existence for such a period of time that he was able to describe it and put that into words, so we can see a view of how he might see that world. And we may distort that view as we go on, as we understand it, and as we actually see it ourselves. But distorting the view comes par for the course. But even those distorted views that we get from those visions of that world are their own worlds in itself. It's just that we can't process them properly. It's like seeing a blurry photo. It's like you look at a photo, you saw the view of what I saw when I took the photo, but if the photo is blurry, you just don't get a clear picture, right? So having stuff like anime and stuff gives us a way to perceive that world that's possible for us, you know? Having a way for a medium to help us perceive it with our sight, even though the world could be possibly fourth dimensional and we might even have an even blurrier picture than we actually know of, because our senses are fundamentally flawed, you know? So thinking of Orashheim, I don't think I came up with Orashheim. I think I viewed into Orashheim by accident. And when I viewed into it, I wanted to display that and show it to you guys so that you can see a view of Orashheim as well. And even though that view is made by me so that you guys can craftedly see the world, I don't want you guys just to craftedly see the world. I want you guys to be in the world. And I think that's the embodiment of why I wanted to make a D&D system for Orashheim and Isekai world. Because I want you guys to be a part of the world. And I get a pretty clear view of the world whenever I like go into my imagination and take a quick view of it, you know? But just because I get a small view of the world, I am limited to what I want to see. There are places and spots that I won't generally go into because it's not in my inclination to do just that. So, because I am a usual suspect of a person, I am a person who has his own feelings and wants and needs, there are only certain locations that I'm going to actually go. I'm not going to be able to explore the entire world. I'm not going to go and look for every single nook and cranny in this place. And I know I'm not. There's no point. There's no point in me going in. No, that's not exactly the case either. Because there is a point. There's a point in going in anywhere. But the idea is that I want specific things from life and in the universe and stuff like that. Those specific things might involve me going into some of these places, but I'm not going to go explore every corner, because there are places that I would believe that mean nothing to me, that I don't particularly care to go into, you know? Like, if we all go down a specific path there are going to be different things I see, and then different from the way you see things. I'll look in certain places, you'll look in certain places, and with enough eyes, we can have a clear view of the world. But for right now, I have a very limited view of my world. But because I can imagine my view of the world, and because I have such a clear sight over the spot that I'm looking at, if I describe the place to you while I'm looking at the place, and you decide, hey, what's over there? And I say something I see, and then you say no. You say no, look past that to look at something else. I will be forced in a situation where I will look in that spot when I would have never looked there before. And then I might find something completely new. And then because I found something completely new, I got a better view of the world because I saw it through you. Because you were guiding me. You were guiding me to look in through your eyes to see something brand new. You get it? Like, that's the point of this. Not as vainly as to just kind of have you guys personally look at everything for me. But the most definite part of it was because I know I will only look so far. I know you guys will look way farther than me if you guys had the opportunity. So I want you guys all to see the world, see the same world that I see. Have a better look at it. Get a good view. Have some fun. You know? Have a good time in the end. You know? I can guarantee it'll be pretty fun. Looking at Orashheim is just magical. And I'm giving you the opportunity to create something in that world. Something in that world that will actually last way longer than anything else. You might even come up with something to perceive the world as well. And that is your character, your avatar. Your avatar will be lodged into the world to a place where you will see the world yourself. And you'll imagine the world. And you'll crave for the world. And then you'll live in the world. And you'll want to do nothing more and nothing less. I want you to be embrace yourself in that world just like I embrace myself in this one, you know? I want you guys to feel that. Just to feel that. I got totally distracted. I literally put the controller down because I got totally distracted by the game. Not this game, but like the game I'm building. And I'm so sorry for that. Anybody who's watching and just like, you just saw me completely stop for like a second. I got really passionate for a minute. I feel really passionate about this. I've always felt pretty passionate about this, but it gets so much more when I'm explaining it, because I want you guys to enjoy it just as much as I do. And that's mainly what it is. I really want everybody's enjoyment to be just the maxed. I don't want anyone to have a varied enjoyment of the game because you have like some small thing, like you don't understand something, or you get a problem that occurs because I would hate that. I would abhor that moment where somebody couldn't enjoy the world itself just because of some small things like that, you know? But it's beside the point. Yeah. So I'm creating a game, and I will enjoy it if a bunch of you guys would join me in the world to play the game too, you know? Have some fun. That's all. That's really it. That's all it is. I just want to have some fun with everybody. Whether you're fans of me or not, whether you get involved with me or not, whatever, if somebody just kind of randomly comes across this and wants to like fund my game or something like that, something ridiculous like that happening, like, I don't care. This started for me, and I know it's fundamentally necessary for others to join me in it, but I know no one has to. At a certain point, I want to get to a point where, like, my main goal with this is the very smallest goal I can get, which is simply, I want to get to a point where I can explain the game to somebody so they can play, so they can let me play. I know that sounds a little selfish, but that's the best reason I could come up with to make it, you know? To create this thing myself, the only thing, if I don't have enough resources to play it myself, I would feel awful. I would feel completely just like, why am I doing this if I can't enjoy it, you know? Like, do you understand, man? Like, I want to enjoy this as much as everybody else, and I would feel really appalled if I couldn't enjoy it just because I couldn't properly explain this to somebody, you know? Like, I wonder if that makes any sense to anybody, but like, yeah, that's the reason I started. And that's the main reason why I'm going to keep going with it. And I'm going to try not to stop as hard as I can. Like, if I want to make sure that this keeps moving forward more than anything that I do currently, you know? Like, my dead-end job doesn't mean much to me. My home life is stable and constantly moving in the proper direction forward, so I don't have to worry about my means of life most of the time. I am financially, physically, and mentally stable in most situations. I don't have the confidence enough to say I'm always like that, but I know I am right now, so that's what I'm going to say. I am right now. But the thing was, I wanted to play. I want to play. I want to enjoy my world. I want to make something broken and go off on an adventure to be the legendary hero that destroys the Demon King. And I can demo it out, of course, but I need somebody to run the system with me to do it. Because D&D is set up for one reason, with a DM, somebody showing you the world, and somebody interacting with the world. And then the world interacting with you back. In fact, it's kind of weird because I wouldn't even call the DM in this game anymore. I would call him the WM, the World Master, because this game is set up a little bit differently from how normal D&D is set up, or normal gaming is set up. I would set it up as follows. The DM is not actually just a dungeon master, somebody who's just creating dungeons and encounters and stuff like that. In fact, you're creating your own world whenever you are the WM for this game. You are the world master. You are a master of the world in front of you. You have control over that place. And it's weird to say this, but everybody, once after you see Arashheim is my world. It is the place that I named. And the reason for that is because this place is always variable and having parallels and differences inside of them. You can understand that pretty quickly when somebody runs their session like one way and then you find different things in another person's session. Like, that's how D&D works. You might see the same names come up, but you won't see the same place. That's for damn sure, you know? So knowing that, you can probably understand why I'm so adamant about people being world masters than dungeon masters. You're not creating encounters. You're creating a whole city-state, a world, an adventure for the people involved. And I want them to get in the habit of understanding that. To be in the habit to understand how you are in control of the world and how you have very, very little and minute changes over it, and how you can make those minute changes to better suit you crafting their experience. That is what I want to be more understood than anything inside of the game. Because as it stands, I don't set it up like you would run encounters, but more like you would run people. You would run people in your world to express how these people would actually act on a normal basis. So, a good example would be the God system. So, as I said, most of the time you will be reincarnating into this world. This is a world that you will appear in because of outside factors. Your death being one of those outside factors in most situations. So, because you will be appearing in this world from a different one, and it would be far from the norm to be in this world like this. Like, you weren't born in the world. You weren't created to actually know what was going on ahead of time. You were created, and then you were confused more than anything, because this is such a different situation from the world that you were currently in, that you don't understand the world as a whole. Sometimes you are found transmigrated into the world rather than being the one involved into the world. Like, you weren't just barely born just like when you turned over one day. No. You find yourself in a body that doesn't even feel like your own before this. Like, this body that you have inhabited, it seems, your memories and personality have collided with this place. And you're just kind of sitting there like, wow, I used to be a different person. What do? Like, that is what I want you to understand and feel. I want you to feel like your common sense is not correct. Like, the common thought in this world is much different from what I'm used to. I want you to understand that this place is just a different place. And that you might turn to a tree and try cutting it down, and that tree might get up and bitch slap you because you were trying to kill it. You know? Like, to understand that things are not the way that they seem, and to see something new is what I want my consumer to feel. Well, I'm not the consumer particularly. I wouldn't call you guys all consumers. I would call you gamers. That is what I want you guys to feel from the game. Like, I want you to feel like after you've completely just fell into this world without even a second thought in your mind, that you understand that there is something wrong with you compared to this world. That you comparatively have a wealth of power and knowledge that is beyond the scope of what is put in front of you. And that you can use that to make your mark. To be more than what the world would usually give for you. So, it's that same idea that you want to be an actor when you grow up. You want to be more than the sum of your parts. So you want to do more than the sum of your parts. You want to do something great and grand, extravagant. You want to be the king of your own nation. You want to be the big man on campus. You want to be a god among men. That is a power fantasy, right? As people would call it. That power fantasy, I want you guys to indulge in. And then understand that power fantasy can happen, and you will actually, like, you are very capable. You are capable. You are more than the sum of your parts. You are more than the sum of your parts. That's the good example. Then I want you guys to understand that just because you feel like you are the best in the world doesn't mean you actually are. Then you get, like, knocked down a couple pegs, like a little bit, just a little. Not even too much, just a little. I want you guys to understand a lot about this place, and then come across challenges and struggles, but in more of a different line than you would usually expect in a D&D campaign. Instead of running against a dragon and finding yourself stuck where you're actually fighting this dragon for hours, I want you guys to find yourself stuck against a skeleton who has a poison-tipped blade that you can't get past, because if you find yourself attacking through this poison-tipped blade, you'll indefinitely die. I want you to find out that the enemies are not actually stronger than you physically. Like, you have the physical or magical strength to overpower anything in this world, but they're smarter than you. Like, your common sense may be outside of the bounds of this world, but just because you're outside of the bounds of common sense does not mean you are immune to it. Meaning that you will find yourself in a situation where, oh, hey, I can brute force my way to beat this dude in a submission. But then just moments later, that person, knowing that you have the brute strength to beat him out of this situation, he instead holds the whole place hostage. And then, like, says, do what I say, or I'll kill something else. I won't actually harm you. I'll inconvenience the world around you instead. And you can take the opportunity, you can take the initiative just to say, I don't care about the world around me. I'm just here to have fun. But that defeats the purpose. The purpose was for you to be involved in this world. And I mean so incorrosively involved that you're talking about it with all your friends. That you're just like, oh my god, have you guys played Isekai World? Or have you actually gotten into the world of Arasham? Have you played this D&D game with this and this and that? What have you guys did in this? What have you managed so far? Have you actually figured out that you guys are stronger than everything else? Oh man, I killed this dragon just recently. I want you talking about this like this is your world. Like, this is your world. This is the same feeling that you can get when you're actually involved in like a large scale MMO. And I mean, like, the world building of that MMO just kind of wraps you up in it. It's like, oh hey, did you hear about that new update that came in on Destiny 2? Oh yeah, I heard about it. It was actually like, it actually jarred me a little bit. I didn't quite understand what was going on. But then you like find yourself discussing strategies with your best friend about it because you actually are trying to get a hold of what the real is here. The like lo and behold, and then you find out that there's like new locations that you can explore. You found out that there's new places to be. There's new interesting things to do. Like, being involved in a world is like that. When you're involved in a place, like specifically, you find yourself going to school on a normal basis, trying to actually understand the theory of the location that you're in. Things like that. I want you guys to be involved. So, to understand that your involvement in the world will definitely make or break the feelings that you have about this is something I want you guys to understand very clearly. There seems to be another mob in this room that I can't... Oh! Wow. That's new. This is new. This right here is really new. Okay, so... short break on this. Like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen it. I've never seen whatever the fuck that is. And that's a little freaky. I have been playing this game for a little bit, so it's like, it's a little freaky not to see new things still. I thought, like, I was just like, oh hey, like I've done everything now. I'm like just gonna enjoy it and then just kind of like talk to you guys while that's going on. But when you see new shit like that, you're just kind of like, whoa, what's that? Wow, you know. I'm sorry, I got squirreled for a second there. Anyways, yeah. So I want you guys to be involved in the world. So even this tiny moments where you're like put in situations where you're supposed to do the right thing and you're allowed to do the wrong one, being involved in the world is even still taking the time to do the wrong decision. So to explain what I mean by that, there are times when you're going to find yourself in those situations where somebody's being held hostage, or like the things that you found yourself connected to are like at jeopardy just because you are allowed in the world. To explain what you do about those situations is you make a choice. You make your choice about what you're involved in. Oh my god, no. Oh. Fucking hate. Now I'm missing some good equipment. Well, that's a day I've just wasted. Anyways, I want you guys to be involved in the world that you just have to think about it, you know? Think about those moments where your involvement in the world like could make or break somebody else's life. And I want you to actually think about these consequences to actions and stuff. Like, that is my goal. Rather just thinking about the action is already perfect in my opinion. Like, whether or not you actually kill let those guys kill off the townspeople or not, is not a really big deal, because for honest to God's sake, these guys are NPCs. These are things that you might not ever see again. But if you could make a connection with them by just enjoying the game, I would be ecstatic. I would have thought that, yeah, I've won. I've definitely done what I meant to do, which is make sure your involvement is there, you know? To make sure you're involved in the world is the main goal whenever I'm playing. And that's why I make interesting, intricate characters like Papyrus or like Sans from Undertale all the time. Like, without question or fail. I try for the most intriguing characters I can, with the weirdest tropes that I can imagine. And my only issue so far coming across that is that sometimes a lot of the characters can get derivative. I I make characters pretty often. I like make OCs of people you do not steal, you know, all the time. But the problem is I like making characters myself, so when I make characters, I just make characters like I would make characters, which are all derivatives of me. Smart Alex, smart people, interesting people, prideful people, vain people. Like there are a lot of variations, but they're all a part of me. Like, and I don't know if like many people will see that, and I worry a little bit when I play it with my friends because they might see, oh hey look, it's your Ferelden Craftsman from a little bit ago. Oh hey look, it's your fucking wizard from a while back, or something like that. Like the derivatives of my characters being like found out like that, you know. I worry about that sometimes, where character creation becomes for me like making a new person, and I can make many new people that are all interesting in certain ways, but they'll all be derivative of either somebody I know of or somebody I've created myself, you know, which worries me just a bit, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to overcome that hurdle, but when I do, I'll definitely let somebody know. But yeah, so you guys being involved in the world is like my main purpose in being a WM, a world builder, a world manager. You manage the fact that every single square that somebody moves has a world that's flowing and overflowing in it, that actually like has places and items and things that can be created and found all the time. So how I have it set up so far is I'm trying to actually make it so that your world, you as the WM, instead of rolling for rolling for specifics of dungeons, or leveling or specking out dungeons for people, because I find it so that you guys will be strong. So strong, in fact, that almost every single enemy that you've ever come across will probably be able to be brute forced through if you use a ton of mana, time, and power. And it doesn't require too much knowledge to do those sorts of things. But I want the WM to play smarter than you, not play harder than you. To explain what I mean by that, I want the WM to be using environmental traits to attack you rather than trying to just overpower you, unless like the enemy that they've created requires you being overpowered, you know? Like unless they scaled that enemy to your strength, which would be almost impossibly hard because I have the enemies leveled invariably lower than the people that you usually deal with. I mean, than yourself. So you'll never come across a situation where I'll say, oh look, it's a beginning spider, and you'll be like, damn, that thing can actually poison and kill me, like, and I'm only level 1. No, I mean, I'll be like, oh hey, it's a poisonous spider. You say, I use fire magic, and then you blow that thing up. It's gone. It's not there anymore. You handled it skillfully. You gain experience points, you know? I want it to be like not a big deal when monsters occur. I want it to be a big deal when oh god, what is no, let's not. Okay, it didn't let me not that. That's fine though. I don't want it to be a big thing when monsters just kind of pop up. I kind of want it to be more of a big thing when you your actions. I want your actions to be a big thing, not your power. So I want you to be more worried about you blowing up the city by accident and controlling your energies, rather than you worrying about, oh hey, there's an encounter with 12 monsters, I might die, you know? I don't want you to actually be too wary of your surroundings where you're actually wondering that you're gonna die every couple seconds. Instead, I want you more worried about management of your power, your time, the things that you're doing, and more on the line exploring, than kind of feeling like you're stuck at a spot because you have to do something, you know? Like, I don't want you guys like hung up over small things like not being somewhere at some time, or worrying about the world's immediate destruction or anything like that. The world is not in danger. There are demon kings and stuff that you might have to go slay after some point, but I don't want you worrying about that. I want you exploring and dealing with your world, and then having the overarching 2 to 3 goals being, do I want to live out my life here, or do I want to go back? And then you have the way you can get back, of course, available to you very clearly and very simply. And then also noticing that making it to that goal means that you will be strong by that time, and that you will be overcoming like the dragon at the end of the D&D campaign, you know? I want you to feel like you're playing a D&D campaign, but I don't want you to feel the stress of you have to be going somewhere. Because I know some of the best times when you're playing in D&D is the fact that you get to just fuck around in the tavern and then drink yourself into a coma, you know? Like, you are on a quest, you are on a journey. You have to make a quest or journey for yourself. That is a given in most situations. The hero's journey always starts somewhere, and you have to actually understand that you should be working towards something. But I don't want that to diminish your experience going forward when you're actually playing the game. Just because you have to do something or you want something done doesn't mean that you can't take your time. Like, the fact that we have a time limit every time we play a campaign round, doesn't mean that you should be worried about your time constraints when you're playing with me. Instead, I'd rather you be like, damn, I didn't get much done, but I'll get around to it next time, you know? I want you high commitment, low intensity. High commitment, low intensity. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. I want you highly committed to the game, but I don't want you harping over the smaller stuff in it. That's not actually right either. Because I want you harping over the smaller stuff, obviously, too. I don't want you feeling like while you're playing, you're not going to be able to get anything done. No. I don't want you to harp over the fact that you're not doing anything. You don't have any important goal. I want you living. I want you living. That's it. I want you just living rather than trying to find your next goal, you know? This is really hard to explain. I'm okay with you living the simple life out in my campaign and just having a good time. I'm not okay with you rushing to try to kill the demon lord because you think that your campaign's going to run too long. I want you to enjoy everything thoroughly, and I want you to know that your goal at the end of the day is worth every single minute that you've been playing without you feeling like whenever you have to not feeling like you have to move on the story every 10 seconds or anything like that, because that's something that quests have a common theme of doing whenever you're playing a D&D quest, is that you have to do something before a set time. And I understand that that's sometimes what people want, and I can get that. And that's what your job as the WM is to actually perpetrate. The flow. The feeling of the flow of the story. As a WM, as a DM in general, you have to always have a good idea of the flow of the story, so you don't let people lollygag most of the time. But instead, I would rather with your WM work on the feeling of flow going forward in a story. To explain how you do that, I can't give you any good example, because the feeling of flow is different for every person. Some people want a quick action-packed adventure. Some people want to just sit in a village and kind of just explore. Some people want to go on a small adventure. Small scale being somewhere like, oh hey, just a small journey adventure, like Chemo's journey kind of. But instead of being a messenger, you're just kind of being around. I don't know. It comes with your involvement in the world. When you're involved so much in something, you actually just find yourself lost in just the little things, the small lore, understanding the like politics of how things work in this city. You know, things like that. Finding yourself just kind of like, oh, hey, I got into a town recently. Let me look at all the houses and talk to all the people. Let me see if there's anything interesting going on, you know? And then like saying, I want to kind of live in this town. I want to work towards getting a house here, you know? Rather than actually going anywhere. I don't feel like going somewhere too far, so I want to actually make my base camp here because I like this character, and this character that's sitting around. Like, this old lady's really nice. Maybe I should get to know her or something like that, you know? Like, not like trying to take advantage of the people inside the town just because they're NPCs, but like wanting to actually get to know and do and have adventures with the people around or something like that, you know? It's the same feeling you get when you're actually with a bunch of people in your party and you know you like your party members and you kind of just want to like make them go through all of their lines of dialogue in like a game, in a video game, or having interesting character interactions with your party of adventurers that you're dealing with constantly. I'm in room 3, so I mean room 2, but I'm about to go in room 3 in a second, so that's good. Those types of feelings, I want you to like experience them in the game and then enjoy your game so much more because of that. That's what I want. I keep saying that's what I want, and then like giving different explanations for what I want. So I'm sorry if that's if this is confusing anybody else in the chat trying to understand the weird thing that I want people to understand. I'm really, really sorry about that. I'm not trying to be confusing, I swear. It's just a confusing topic, honestly. But I know this exists because I've made people experience it, and I'm glad that I have. It's progress. It's variously good progress in the right direction of the world. Yeah. Shit, I'm talking a hell of a lot right now about this thing that not anyone else can play, honestly. Like, I kind of feel like I should like run a session with like a bunch of random people, but to do that, just to run a session with a few random people from like the internet is such a difficult prospect to manage because of how sometimes difficult it is to connect to people. I guess Roll20 is the best way I can get that done, but I would like a site for myself so that I can do this with fans of the idea or the concept, you know? That would be such a blessing, you know? Like, if I can find at least 10 people like who just see this video and want to like join me on this journey to, I don't know, not even make the game, because the game, I've had people who wanted to help me make the game, and those same people have betrayed me in ways that I could never imagine before. But I've had people who wanted to just play and enjoy, and because it's not finished, I've had their whole experience ruined just because of that. Which sucks. It sucks. It really does suck. I want to make a better experience for the people involved, but I can't make a better experience until I get more experience myself, you know? It's such a long and arduous task to get this perfect immersion that I've been striving for. And I need to make the system relatively easy to use, always expansive without being too time consuming or difficult to manage. Fuck, I messed up another day. Hate these stupid fucking boxes. Jesus Christ, oh my god, I hate these boxes. They're like the worst enemy I've ever had to deal with. Every single time one of these motherfuckers like rolls towards me, I just can't. I think I've wasted 2 days, so it should be February 11th. It's February 10th right now, and I started in the dungeon on the 8th, so I'm a little upset knowing that I waste a day every time I'm in the dungeon. Fuck. I can't leave right now, but I'm done explaining a lot of cool shit with you guys. So I'm about to actually go. I'm gonna take this time and maybe do another Into the Mind episode, and then I'll actually come back another time to stream, just to talk about some shit that I've been working on. Anyways, thank you guys, and have a wonderful day. I hope you guys have a good time.